So today I'm going to be telling you the top 5 concealed carry fallacies. These are things that I just believe are dead wrong, not only when it comes to concealed carry, but just being a gun owner in general. Some of these things I think may surprise you. Some of these things I've changed my mind on. So make sure you stick around for the video. And then after the video, tell me some things that you've heard about concealed carry or guns or whatever that are just dead wrong. And I may use those in part 2 of this series because I'm always getting video ideas from y'all. I'm going to leave cards kind of here and there on videos that I recommend that you watch to get some more knowledge on this, right? And I'm no expert, don't get me wrong. If you're just joining me and you've never seen me or you don't know who I am, whatever, I believe in carrying a gun every single day. I believe training with that gun and that's what I do, right? So it's a big part of what I do and who I am, right? It's kind of like a lifestyle, but regardless of who you are, whether you're just starting out, you maybe have some interest, maybe you absolutely just hate guns, and somehow this video found its way to you, or maybe you've been carrying a gun for 40 years. Regardless, these are my opinions. This is how I see this right now, and I don't see myself deviating from any of these anytime soon. Now, before we get started, man, I got to give some love to my bearded and unbearded brothers out there from today's sponsor. This is a good one, man. Check it out. I don't think it's any secret that beards and guns go together like hot dogs and baseball. I wake up in the morning, my beard looks something like this. Ah! And so now I've trusted my beard to my friends over at the Fable Beard Company. Yes, they have set up a discount code for all of my viewers and subscribers here, which I will leave the link and the code down below for your convenience. But let me tell you a little bit about the company first. They're based in Franklin, Tennessee, and they use all natural products, and they actually have characters that represent the different scents they do. They have seasonal lineups, so right now it's fall and Halloween. They have CBD products. If you don't have a beard, you can actually get their cologne or their body wash or even their aluminum-free deodorant. They have a ton of products to leave you smelling good all day long. And on the beard side of things, what I can say is the oils and the balms, they don't leave your beard feeling dry. They don't leave it feeling tacky. It feels really good. It's a medium hold, so it's gonna hold all day, and the scents really do last all day. Two of my favorites so far are the Witch Doctor, which is a CBD beard balm, and the Master Barber, which is a CBD oil. So I do the oil first and then the balm. I've been using the Gunslinger, the American, beard washes, and the co-wash, which is a conditioner. These guys make an amazing product. Big thanks to them for sponsoring today's video and hooking y'all up with the discount code. Big thanks to those guys for helping my beard look better than it's ever looked because of their products, dude. Truly believe in them. These are pretty awesome, man. If you want to support what I do, use that link. Make sure you get your discount and all that too. Save yourself some money on awesome beard and unbearded products as well. Big thanks to those guys. First fallacy we're going to talk about is I don't need a gun because I never go into questionable areas. Well, let's think about that for just a minute, right? Let's think about some shootings in recent memory, right? Churches, country music concerts, schools, God forbid, gas stations, Walmarts, grocery stores, whatever. The list goes on and on. Are these questionable areas? I don't think so. Now, I know you can't carry in school. That's a conversation for another day. Of course, I have an opinion on it, but we're just going to kind of leave that alone right now, or I'm going to leave that alone for right now. But regardless, anywhere, there are people, specifically bad people, can become a questionable area. Anytime you go to one of these places, especially where we all have to go, gas stations, grocery stores, all that kind of stuff, you're going to run into bad people. You're not going to know, most likely, hopefully not, but there will be bad people amongst you. Most of the time, most people around you are good, but some, unfortunately, are not. So this idea that you never go into questionable areas either means you just want to ignore it, kind of like an ignorance is bliss type of thing. If I just ignore it, it won't ever happen. Or you just really never leave the house. Or you live in a fantasy world and I don't mean this as an insult, but you live in this fantasy world where you think that it's just rainbows and unicorns. Do we all want and wish that everybody was peaceful? Absolutely. But that's not reality. That's not reality. This is one I have a really big problem with, man. You gotta, we all prepare for hurricanes. If you live, especially from Texas to North Carolina, sometimes even farther up the East Coast, but Texas to North Carolina. Every year, I'm in South Carolina, by the way. If you're on the coast, every year, there's a chance that a hurricane, or multiple hurricanes can hit you, right? So we prepare for that. Well, and we prepare well in advance. We know it could happen. So you want to prepare in advance. You want to get out of harm's way if possible, but you prepare for the worst. That's what carrying a gun is. That's the whole idea around not only carrying a gun, but the Second Amendment in general, is knowing that you have the right to have a gun to protect yourself from bad people. That's what it's about. Preparing in advance for something that hopefully will never happen, but if it does, you can rely on training, skill, and knowing that you have a chance to save yourself, loved ones, and people around you. That's what it's about. Let's move on to the second one. Any gun is better than no gun. I got a real problem with this, man. Now, yes, in theory, yes, if I have a North American Arms, and I don't want to pick on those guys. I know they make a pretty respectable gun, I think. But let's say an NAA 22. Is that better in this hand than nothing in this hand? Yeah, of course it is. But some people may hear that and they may say, oh, well, this is kind of all I need is this little 22, whatever that may be. No. What really changed my mind, and I'll kind of move from 22 to 32 ACP. I accidentally loaded a 32 ACP in a 380 gun. I was doing a test on a bulletproof vest, right? And it was a flexible vest. It wasn't a hard plate carrier or anything like that. And I watched the video back and seen the 32 bounce off of the vest. When I saw it, it really made me think about this. Like, dude, you have to carry. There's a minimum threshold. And the idea is you want to stop the bad guy as quickly as you can. I'm not saying that, any caliber can be deadly pretty much out of any gun, right? I mean, it is what it is, but you want to legitimately be able to stop a bad guy. And if all you're going to carry is a 22 and nobody could ever talk you out of it, fine. But my opinion is you should get comfortable enough to carry at least a 380. 9mm is the ideal round, in my opinion. You get more rounds. They're super effective. You can get guns that are small enough to comfortably carry every single day, and yet big enough that they are, good shooters and decent capacity and all this kind of stuff. So I really believe in 9mm. 380 though is a minimum threshold. And I don't know about you, but if we're going to prepare for everything, we need to prepare for everything, right? So let's say we have a guy jacked up on PCP. This isn't unheard of, by the way. This is like not some kind of like fantasy fairy tale one-off type of thing. And you load and unload 6 shots into his chest and he keeps coming at you. What do you do then? Of 22 or whatever. Well, you're going to wish you had more rounds or a better round, a more capable round to be able to stop him. So yes, technically any gun is better than no gun, but I think you should make a legitimate effort to carry something that is known and effective against a bad guy. If you need tips on this kind of stuff, I'll leave a card up top talking about holsters, gun belts, trying to carry on your person and all that kind of stuff comfortably, because I do believe in that too. I make a compromise as well. I don't carry a full-size gun every day. I carry a Shield Plus most of the time because it strikes that great balance of capacity and capabilities with also comfort. Hey, that is what it is, right? So I have some ideas and I have some videos and stuff that you can check out to help you if you want to bump up your carry game or get started in the right direction. Next thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to cock my gun or brandish my gun. I don't know why I held it like this. To scare off a bad guy. You have seen too many movies. You have seen too many movies. Now, the sight of a gun can scare somebody, but if you think that just pulling a gun out is going to be enough in every situation, just simply pulling that out, tells me that you don't really have the intentions, or I don't even know what to call it really, but you wouldn't want to take the life of somebody trying to kill you. You are not going to hear almost any gun guy or girl or whatever, somebody that really carries a gun, say they want to kill somebody. You're not going to hear that. None of us want to. But you have to be willing to protect your life. You're talking about the life of somebody that is willing to kill, maim, murder, rape, whatever, you to steal $20. Let's just say for an example. Yet you're not willing to take the life of that person willing to do that to you. I don't understand it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not things you have to deal with mentally afterwards. Carry insurance, get it. If you're going to carry a gun, get it. That way you have lawyers and people and, resources there to help you. I'm not saying you're not going to go through anything, but you want to be alive, right? You want to be alive. You want to have the chance to go home to your family, and that is seriously what this is all about. So if you say that just pulling the gun out, that to me, that instantly says you're not willing to take the life of somebody that is possibly or wants to take your life. So I don't believe in that at all. I think that's terrible. If let's say somebody breaks into my house, and let's say there's some magical kind of fairy tale experience where this guy breaks in my house, right? And I load the gun, right? The gun's not loaded for some reason, but I load the gun. And then that guy's looking at me and I'm looking at him and he's like, okay, I'm out of here. Okay, well, if a bad guy leaves and he's running away and, he doesn't have one of your family members in his possession, in his arms or in his car or whatever, then yeah, obviously, hey, the threat's gone. The sight or sound of that gun, throw him off. Sound of a shotgun. You see this all the time in Hollywood movies. It's like, okay, all right, that doesn't always work. Remember that guy I was talking about that's hopped up on PCP? Yeah, they break into homes too, And so the sight and sound of a gun does not always work. Do I wish it would always? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Nobody has to shoot anybody else to protect themselves, but it doesn't always work. You have to be willing to use that gun and effectively use that gun to take care of the threat. That's what I'll say about that. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is I don't trust carrying on a loaded chamber, or I carry my gun on an empty chamber. So I understand the concern around this. I've done several videos about this specific topic, so you can check out some videos on that if you want some more information. But what I'll say here is that most modern guns are designed to be carried on a loaded chamber. So why that is important is because you have to think about all circumstances, right? And that's kind of been a theme of this video, is you got to plan ahead, right? So most self-defense situations are going to happen very close and in a very short amount of time. And a lot of malfunctions happen when you first load up a gun. So this is why it's important to make sure that your carry gun specifically, you shoot that gun a lot, and you make sure that your carry ammo, you make sure you first of all shoot your carry ammo, but you also make sure that you know where the point of impact, point of aim, you make sure that a chamber's in the gun. But if you go ahead and take that equation out, well, now you've taken the possibility of another malfunction out of the case, especially under a situation of stress. You don't want to have another thing kind of get in your way between you and the bad guy. You want to be able to draw that gun, effectively put shots on target. You don't want to have to be worrying about chambering the gun, and then, you know, your bullet just became lodged on the feed ramp for whatever reason, and now you are in, you know, a bad situation. Here is the thing, man. Modern guns, unless the trigger is pulled, it's not going to go off, right? You have striker blocks, firing pin blocks that are built in, safeties that are built into the gun. It's kind of like an external safety on a gun, but it's on the inside, so you don't really have to think about it. You just have to pull the trigger. But until the trigger's pulled, the gun can't go off. Now, I know somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, but unless you have a P320 and you drop it, blah, 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 whatever. So that is the idea. Get comfortable with that. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. You know what your target is and what's beyond it and all that kind of stuff, and you will be good to go. You're going to save yourself precious time. If that were to ever come up, if you were to ever have to use that gun, you're going to save yourself a lot of time, and it could potentially save your life by having your gun chambered, ready to go. You know, you should know when the gun's loaded. You should have it in a secure holster. If you're not carrying a gun in a holster, even if it's just thrown in your purse, it needs to have a holster around it, something to protect the trigger guard there. But until you pull that trigger, the gun's not going to go off. So practice gun safety and make sure that you're using that. And know, and also one thing, man, practice when you're at the range. I've started doing this more too. Make sure I take the holster for the gun that I'm shooting that day and practice, or if I have a holster, and draw it out and get used to drawing, keeping your finger off the trigger until your gun's on target. Okay, so make sure you practice that. Carrying a gun on a loaded chamber, with a loaded chamber, is the only way to carry a gun. The last one, I don't need a permit. The Second Amendment is my carry license. So I agree. Should I have to ask permission to carry a gun? Nope. No. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Any law-abiding citizen in the United States should be able to lawfully carry a gun wherever they go. Now, of course, some states are constitutional carry, so you don't really have that to worry about. My state, it's kind of a hybrid. I don't know. Maybe other states are like this too, but we don't have constitutional carry, but we have open carry. But then if you want to conceal, you have to have a concealed carry permit. But regardless, it's not worth having your rights taken because of what you believe in. Your belief is not the rule of law. It's not the law. So if you get caught carrying a gun without a permit when you could have just taken a class, they could strip your rights from you altogether. The idea too, man, is that, you know, as citizens that carry guns, we in some ways are held to a higher standard. And that's why you kind of have to be aware of some of these things. If you're in the spotlight at all, or you're not in the spotlight, you need to set a higher example. You know, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes, and it just is what it is. But at the same time, I am a big believer. I have literally left the house in a rush in the mornings and come back to get my gun because I knew that if I ran across one of y'all and you're like, hey, man, you know, so nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Hey, what are you carrying today? And y'all ask me that and I don't have a gun on me. Dude, that I try and practice what I preach. So if you ever come across me, you're going to see me wearing a gun. You're going to see that gun in a holster, and it's going to be secured with a Core Essentials gun belt at minimum. So there you go, man. Practice what you preach, and make sure you do these things effectively. Practice, practice, practice. Thank you guys for joining me, man. If you have any ideas, any fallacies you want to talk about in the concealed carry world, I'd love to hear them. And again, I may use those in a future video, so make sure you leave those down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.